Hi, this is John Hand, and today's movie is David Cronenberg's Scanners. 1981, it was a film he made after making Shivers, Rabid, Fast Company, and The Brood. So he'd already was a seasoned filmmaker at this point who had a bunch of films under his belt, and Scanners is an odd film. There are a lot of people whose opinions I really respect, and a lot of friends who just can't get into Scanners. They hate Scanners, they don't like Scanners, they think it's a stupid movie, they don't like the lead actor, they reject the entire premise of Scanners, and for them it's kind of like a blank spot in David Cronenberg's filmography. But I totally disagree. I mean, I think of the films he was making at that time, and a lot of strong films. I mean, I love Rabid, and I love The Brood, and I love Videodrome. And Videodrome is the film that gets all the love, really. It's the film that everybody looks back on and quotes and this and that. And I love Videodrome, but I really love Scanners. I really get into this concept of this underground of people who have this psychic ability, and the fact that that makes them special people, but that also makes them kind of outcasts in this society. And I love the idea of this, that they're psychics, but they're kind of like they can't control the inflow of thoughts from people around them. Like they're just these hypersensitive people, almost like in that Todd Haynes film Safe, where there's these people who are hypersensitive who can't live in our society because they're allergic to everything. Some people have a real affliction like that, or a similar affliction, and so there's a lot of reality to this whole psychic stuff, that David Cronenberg, invests the concept with, that he builds this up as a very real thing, and the idea of using your thoughts as a weapon, and the fact that there is this guy, Stephen Lack, who is, who was an artist, who was a sometimes actor, and people really criticize his performance in this film. But I think he's the perfect actor to be the lead in this film, because he has such this blank emotional texture that he gives out. He could be perceived as a cardboard actor, but I think in the role that he's trying to portray, this person who has been abused for, since he was born, has been just inundated with these thoughts, like someone, like your average homeless person who has mental problems, who can't control the influx of these thoughts. Like someone who's almost autistic, in a sense, or mildly autistic, and who just can't quite control their faculties. I think he's the perfect actor to portray that kind of mental internal crisis. Daryl Revok, Michael Ironside, one of the great early Michael Ironside performances, who'd go on to do the action stuff in Total Recall and become the 80s action guy. But he has this kind of vulnerability and this anger to him that is just perfect in the role as the nemesis. Patrick McGoohan as the beneficent doctor, who is, we're not sure kind of what side he's on, where he's going, what he's doing. Patrick McGoohan was kind of an enigmatic kind of actor. The perfect guy for, The Prisoner, and the perfect guy for this role. I mean, I can't envision anybody else playing that doctor in the film. And his scene where he's got the gun in his back, one of his final scenes, I don't want to give it away, but the way he's talking to himself and his little inventions, are very, very, very interesting. A very resourceful actor, the late Patrick McGoohan. It's great that that David Cronenberg was able to get someone of his caliber in this little Canadian horror film, which I guess shows you by that point what people were saying about David Cronenberg, that this guy was doing some horror films, Canadian horror films, but they were like incredibly cerebral and cool films. In the case of Scanners, quite literally cerebral. Scanners, the idea of this bursting consciousness, a head that is so full of pressure that it just can't help but explode, would somehow be a good description of the early 80s, late 70s David Cronenberg filmography. They were just films, horror films, science fiction films, fantasy films, just bursting with ideas, just so much that they can't help but get a little bit of the arterial spray and the parts of guts and brain matter. You just can't, sitting in the front row of the audience, you just can't help but get a little bit of that on you. Get a little bit of brain matter on your shoe, like Gallagher with a sledge-o-matic. David Cronenberg's films were like a cinematic sledge-o-matic, just exploding their ideas onto the audience. And Scanners is to me a really great representation of that. And I think the original script for Scanners was like most of Cronenberg's scripts. It started out really ambitious, really high tech, really set in the future, where there was this whole culture of these scanners, and then he gets the money from the Canadian tax money, and he scales it down, way down, but it still, it works. What else can I say about this film? This is such a great film. The soundtrack by Howard Shore, it has those strong Howard Shore themes, but it also has a little bit of the synthesizer in it and some experimental stuff in order to portray the scanning. And that's some really the scanning effect with the sound effects and the voiceover, the gurgling voiceover is very inventive. So there's a very inventive sound design in this film. The setting in modern Canada with at the mall and some of those locations which look very modern, very high tech, very well done. The production design. What was I gonna say? I just can't say enough about this film. I was going to talk about the new Blu-ray, the new Criterion Blu-ray. A lot of people have criticisms of the Criterion Blu-ray. Don't listen to them. It's a great release. Transfer was supervised by David Cronenberg. Some of the neon stuff, the neon lighting, basically the criticisms are it doesn't look like the original video version. But the thing is, they did a new transfer. A lot of the neon lighting, the greenish stuff that was pulled out of the original versions, the neon street lights and the neon scenes toward the end in that ephemeral factory, they've just amped it up and brought it in and made it more consistent. It's a beautiful transfer. The packaging of the Blu-ray is incredible. It has some of the best packaging of any Blu-ray of the past 5 years. It is a great release, and you should check it out. The only cherry on top would have been a David Cronenberg commentary, and I can imagine a Cronenberg commentary for this film would be quite special. And it doesn't seem like it seems like Cronenberg's kind of gotten out of doing commentaries, or at least maybe I don't listen to David Cronenberg commentaries as much. I don't know if he did a commentary for Cosmopolis. I probably couldn't make it through that one again. But in any case, Scanners, a great film, bursting full of ideas. It's not a lesser Cronenberg. And it was a very financially successful film as well. It was the film which got him, into the U.S. Mainstream, and paved the way for Videodrome and The Fly and his big successes throughout the 80s. But a great film, and you need to check it out.